I will call the meeting of the Community Development Authority to order on Thursday, November 6th at 6 p.m. I would ask Rachel to note roll call. And I would ask Nishant, and he's welcoming back Trick to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You all might notice we got a new flag and flag stand with a eagle that isn't broken. Our poor new board member, the first day he was taking his oath, he went to move it for him and it collapsed. Yeah, well, it was time. Thank you guys for, and I know Judd was involved, but thanks for getting it. All right, I don't have any announcements. Do you, Alex? Okay. I will tell this whole group, we don't know anything about the data center process yet. We have nothing to vote on, and I am neutral. On the record. All right. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 9th, 2025.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions, edits, or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our minutes from October 9th are approved. I don't know of any appearances unless you do. Okay. Item 7, new business. Discussion and potential action regarding resolution 2025-515, a resolution approving a second amendment to the intergovernmental cost sharing agreement for staffing, and administrative services to the Community Development Authority of the Village of DeForest by the Village of DeForest. Of the village, or by the village.
I know, it's wordy. So just as an introduction, so there was a memo in the packets. This is the agreement that we've had in place with the village for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. It kind of noted the major changes at a high level. This is again, just trying to align how we're currently operating as a CDA with our interactions with the village. One of the bigger changes that I'll just point out is the reduction in on-call. Obviously with Jay now managing, primarily managing 509 on behalf of the new owner group, they're handling on-call separately. That just leaves him managing the duplexes units, and we're gonna take a different approach to on-call services for that. This will also end up reducing the overall cost to the CDA for those services to hopefully correspond a little bit better to the staff that we're actually using. So I do have the red line version in the packets as well. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, be looking for motion.
All right, questions or comments? I will say in that vein, at a recent meeting, I had people ask over at Jefferson Square if they could have you back for maintenance, and that they weren't getting light bulbs and things managed. And I said, sorry about that. Anyway, any questions on the agreement? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Need a motion first.
Oh, I thought one up.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-515. I'm sorry, it's been a long day.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, right? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The agreement is approved. My day started with the police and that neighbor in my garage at 3:30 in the morning, and I was like, okay. Garage door was open. They thought maybe I was laying out there. They care, and that was very nice of them. But it's just been one of those days. Oh. All right, this is the whole red line version, isn't it? I printed, I didn't mean to. All right, so the next item on the agenda is 7.2, discussion and potential action regarding, hey, Alicia, 2026 operating budget for redevelopment.
So the memo that I included in packets at the start here pertains to the next three agenda items. We had the preliminary budgets for each of these at the last meeting and then also the meeting before that. The thing to note on the redevelopment budget that's new in this version is the addition of a $10,000 allocation for the small business grant program, which we discussed, I think, at the last meeting. And then 25,000 for administrative contracting per the agreement that we just approved, since now those costs are split across the three divisions evenly. So there's any questions on the redevelopment budget in specific, I'd be happy to take those now.
Questions? Budget looks so different right now with the change in property management and now working on the building.
Yeah, so the other thing that I'll point out, and then we did discuss this previously too, is that you'll see in the donations column for redevelopment, a significant funds coming in there. That's a lot of that is with our eventual tax credit application, the money that will be coming in on the early stage of that. So
And we're comfortable with all of the numbers that we have adequate coverage of everything.
Mhm.
Okay, that's exciting. Doug, questions?
No questions.
Okay, anybody else? All right, with that, how about a motion to approve?
so moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 7.2, operating budget for redevelopment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 7.3, discussion and possible action regarding 2026 operating budget for Yahara River Housing.
Yeah, so again, we've seen this before. The major change was that we included a revenue line item or payments from Jay's management of 509. If you recall, when we purchased that property, one of the stipulations was that as for our continued management of the facility, they would compensate us in an amount equivalent to Jay's wages and benefits. So we've added that into the budget. It's the green line there. The rest of the budget pertains solely to costs associated with managing the duplex properties.
Okay. Questions on that? Have they been good about paying and?
Mhm.
Okay.
The only thing I'll mention with this is that certainly this could change or go away if we do end up selling those properties. But for now, this is how we're going to be operating.
Now, we did sell 509.
Correct.
Okay, so what properties would we sell?
The duplexes, Meadow Lane duplexes.
Oh, yeah.
And technically, I could be let go. I mean, we could have to part ways for various types of reasons. That is in the management.
Are you running away?
I'm just saying, no.
Are you
I'm
making
just-
an
I am-
announcement
I am
here,
just-
Jay?
No, I'm just saying that that is also a potential, something that could happen and change these numbers.
We have no intention
We
of
didn't-
that happening.
I don't either. I have no intentions of going anywhere.
So just,
That's
just
you know,
get that out of your mind.
I'm not convinced that they're gonna want me there, so.
I think he was referring to the fact that the management, so us as a management entity, we as a management entity could be fired by the new owners. And in that eventuality, we would have to think that through.
Reassign him to the new building and
Right, so
Work on it.
I'm not anticipating that that will happen because Jay manages that property better than they would manage that. Property. So
we have a long list of things that you could be doing, so
that too.
nice try.
Mhm.
All right. We have the one change to that budget, item 7.4, 7.3. Discussion about the operating budget for Yahara River Housing. Is there a motion to approve that budget?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Jean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions or comment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 7.4, discussion and possible action regarding 2026 operating budget for Jefferson Square.
Yeah, so since Attic Angel presented the initial draft budget at our last meeting, we've had updated costs for, again, having just approved the agreement with the village that reduces some of the administrative costs with the village to all our properties, including Jefferson Square. Insurance came in, and then they also updated the landscaping and snow removal contracts. So I know this is going to be really, really tiny, so I'll zoom in so we could see that. But this it does represent, again, there was, I think it was a 2.5% or a 2% increase in the monthly fee from 565 to 576.
And
Which
you
is-
don't change light bulbs.
And don't change light bulbs. That increase is significantly lower than we've done in the past, so that's a good thing for the residents there. And bottom line, because that's what we're all interested here, is what I would say is essentially a break even, but obviously slightly positive budget.
Any questions on that budget? It seems like things are going pretty well over there.
Yeah, yep, they are. And so I'll just throw out the caveat, same caveat that I made with the last budget comment, is that these are our current projections. Obviously, if there was to be a potential sale of that development, this would no longer be in effect.
All right. Well, with that, if there's no other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve 2026 operating budget for Jefferson Square.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Is there been any serious consideration of the duplexes?
Yeah, absolutely. There has. Jay and I have now shown it to two different organizations who are interested and would be they're mission-based organizations. They prioritize affordable housing, so it'd be a great fit in either of those instances.
And the residents over at Jefferson Square, I know they always complain about something anyway, but overall, I've not heard much complaint other than that. And part of it was they were talking to Ed Wall, who, used to do everything for them.
Sure. I haven't heard anything. I don't know.
Oh, I'd agree. I mean, Cam's busy. He's not a full-time employee, so he's running around a lot, and they've put a lot on the turns on him too. So that's a bottom line item for them. They're making these decisions financially, and they're doing well on the turns now because of the way that they're doing them. So I think it's overall a good thing.
Good.
Whether or not they'll be able to continue with him as a, was it 2/3 time employee? I don't know, but
Okay.
something they can always look at changing to.
Good. They were a bit spoiled for a while, I think. All right, item 7.5, discussion and potential action authorizing the executive director to submit an application to the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority through its competitive tax credit program.
Yeah, so a brief memo here. We did submit last year, if you recall, in the 9% competitive program. I would like for us to consider doing that again this year for the new development. There's a couple things that weren't in the memo here, which have kind of come up since that memo was in the packet that I would love to get your feedback on. So the CDA, obviously, we have a relationship with Baker Tilly as our auditors. They actually did a market study for us for this project as well. They reached out to see if we would be interested in having them take a review of our application in its current form to see how it would score competitively. So sure, that'd be a great thing to take a look at. Especially for the 9% tax credit deals, and forgive me if I start using jargon here, just stop me if you have any questions. It is a highly competitive cycle, and their Baker Tilly's feedback on our initial application, which I will bring up here, give you a peek behind the spreadsheet, was that we didn't score competitively. We were close. Initially, out of 187 points, we scored, this was at like 134. They had some suggestions on how to make this a little bit more competitive, and I've rescored the application. Their threshold for competitiveness was 149. So that's kind of where we need to be. And I just want to, before we move forward with any of those things, I want to make sure that I just want to understand the level of comfort that you all have with making those adjustments to the development. So I'm going to kind of run through, it's not on there in the packets, but I'll run through some of the changes that would potentially happen and hopefully note those on the spreadsheet. Any questions before I kind of get in?
And this is making us competitive for WIDA programs?
Correct. This is making us competitive specifically for the 9% tax credit application, which is the initial concept submission is due December 5th. And if we're successful in securing tax credits for this project, I can show you the number. It would bring like almost $10 million of equity into the project. So it would make this feasible, essentially. I say feasible, but there is another avenue for us to do this with if we don't get the competitive tax credit, we still qualify for a non-competitive application. We would just get less equity in and would probably have to take on a little bit more debt in the project. I think our operations can support that debt, but obviously the degree to which we can reduce that, it sets us up for a little bit longer term success. So I'm just going to talk about, okay. One of the points that Baker Tilly pointed out, which we had not considered previously, as you recall, when we went through our Section 18 disposition, this development is going to get project-based housing choice vouchers in it, which means that WIDA, another department of WIDA, not the tax credit department of WIDA, is going to be providing additional subsidy for 36 units in here because that was the count of the units that we had in public housing previously. Again, stop me if this is getting too far afield. But one of the points they noted out is we had initially in the application here counted those as 30% AMI unit, meaning they're affordable. We can hold them affordable to those earning 30% of the county median income, which we still can do, but WIDA in their application forces us to use a 60% number instead, which then reduces our score for that. So in order to get our score back up, I had to change the remaining 26 apartments, 26 units, to be held at levels of affordability at those earning 50% of county median income. Previously, they were all the way up to 80%. So that change means, in non-jargony technical percentage terms, that instead of having 26 apartments at the building that would be affordable and eligible for somebody, let's take a single individual household earning 60 to $63,000 a year. Now that person would be ineligible and it would be somebody at a lower income threshold. So I want to just make sure that we're comfortable with reducing with making these available to those earning a little bit less money than even we had initially anticipated. So that's one change. Any thoughts or feedback on that or clarifying questions? Does that make sense or did I lose everybody? Makes sense?
Jean,
So about a $13,000 decrease in annual income for an individual. Because you said 63 down to maybe 50,000.
So yeah, I'm just going very top of my head right now. So for a single person household in Dane County, I think the area median income, somebody is quick on Google, they could probably do this, is 84,000. So yeah, something like that. So 80% of that, which is what we were initially at, excuse me. So I was wrong in my numbers. So previously, somebody earning 72,000-ish would be eligible for an apartment here. Now it would be more like somebody earning like 50,000 or 48,000 even. In a case of a single person household. For a 2-person household, that number obviously gets bumped up. But I'll remind everybody that most of our apartments in this are 1 bedrooms. How does that sit with everybody? And the only caveat to that is there's probably another way we can model this where maybe there's a few, like let's say 6 to 8 apartments that are still at 80%. Maybe we can dial some of those up to 60%. We can kind of adjust the mix that's in there. But regardless, the overall thing with this change is going to make this building accommodate those at higher levels of affordability, if that makes sense. I see Doug's got his hand up.
I was just gonna say,
questions?
Doug's got his hand up.
Doug,
I just want to make sure I followed this. So how does that compare to other low-income housing salary thresholds in the area?
How does which compare? What do you mean? Sorry.
The single income level that you quoted, the change in that, how does that compare to other projects that are similar?
So any other housing development that has that level of affordability, they'll all be that same amount. Is that, I don't think I'm understanding the question. Is that what you're looking for?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so anybody who's holding their apartments to 50% county median income, it's all gonna be at the same rent
Okay.
threshold.
Okay, so ours isn't going to be different because of this. It's going to be the same no matter where you go in this area.
Within Dane County, yes. If
Yes,
it was
okay.
in Columbia County, the income thresholds change a little bit. Dane County has higher incomes, so it pushes those numbers up.
Gotcha, thanks.
Mhm.
other questions?
No real opposition I'm hearing, potentially, any
One
concern?
question I had was, I thought we might have some veterans in the mix.
Yep, so that'll be, I got a few more things here,
Okay.
but yes, you're absolutely correct.
Okay. No, I'm okay with this. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll touch on the veterans units next. So Alicia was helpful to provide some options to connect to organizations who could potentially partner with us on this. So thank you for doing that. Part of the scoring which helped us out is if we're going to hold 7, I believe. Oh, Doug, you're in my way on the screen here. Holding 7 units set aside for veterans is the current plan that would also help with scoring. Obviously, priority is to help that population out, but it does also help with scoring. So that's what we're thinking now. The requirements for that is to have a signed MOU with a veteran services organization, which will, I feel confident that we can secure. I think there's a need for veterans housing, so I think this will be great. And then the caveat to that is in terms of leasing, that organization helps refer folks to our apartment if they know of somebody who's in need of housing. If we have a tenant at our development who needs veteran services, we then also have an obligation to refer them to that organization. So it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship. If we're unable to find a tenant who meets that qualification and we have an open unit, we have an obligation to keep it open for 30 days. After that 30-day threshold, as long as we're actively marketing it to a veteran population, we're able to rent that if we're unable to find it. So that's one. I think well, initially we had 0 when this was initially. I don't remember what I said last time, 3, maybe 5. So 7 is the minimum number of units that gets us the maximum number of points. But I'm certainly open if somebody has a preference on either more or less, we can certainly look at that.
I believe at the last meeting, I think just the concerns were if we weren't able to fill them, but I feel like we talked through that and knowing then that we have that option, which you just stated, so I'm good with the number.
Okay. Great.
I do have a question.
Yep.
And
Jean.
we may have talked about this before. What's the term for the rent? Is it month to month? Is it a lease?
It is a lease. It's a 12-month lease. Mhm.
The only reason why I asked is so if one of the veteran units didn't rent and we satisfied that 30 days, then we could rent it to someone who fell into whatever that criteria was, but they would be in there for a year.
For a year, correct.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep, good question. One of the other scoring points is it's a substantial one, and it gets us an additional 10 points to set units aside for what they term supportive housing. And supportive housing can be very, very broad. I'm gonna try and find these here. On the one hand, I feel kind of weird about playing whack-a-mole with points and trying to do that, but on the other hand, it does bring a lot of funds into this, and if we can do it in a way that we're still meeting the goals, I think it makes sense to try. So supportive housing gets an additional 10 points, which is a huge bump to our development. To do that, we would need 9 units that are quote unquote supportive housing. Baker Tilly basically told me flat out, they don't see any applications in the competitive cycle that don't have that full point scoring. So as an example of what that looks like. So as you're all familiar with, or many of you are familiar with, when we were under the public housing program, we had a local scoring preference, which would get additional points on a wait list for folks who are elderly or disabled. Those folks still have the opportunity to relocate to the new building. That is a population that is considered eligible for supportive housing. So there's a potential that we're already going to be serving a population that would be eligible. So this is an example from a different development. They had, in this case, a 30-unit building with 4 units set aside for supportive housing. And the target population was senior citizens as well as veterans or other individuals who may require access to supportive services to maintain housing.
Have we had any indication from current residents how many of them plan to move?
Jake could probably answer that better.
We don't really talk about it yet. I think this process has been going on so long. It's kind of a when we see it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, that conversations will probably start up more along the lines of when we're looking at residents having to decide where residents are going to fit within this. Given the opportunity to look at individual units and stuff like that.
And do the current owners of 509 plan to revamp that for different housing?
The existing building, I do.
So right now, I don't think we don't have a major plan for that yet. There's actually a lot more interest in the units as they are right now. I think it's kind of in the niche of more affordable housing for people. There's so many of these new developments going up that cost so much money. I think there's a need for,
Sure.
and, but as we're trying to work through what that looks like as we have a large number of residents move out and there's a influx of, a number of units. So it's a process, we're just getting into this. There's a lot of bugs to work out through the new ownership as it is. So that's just a process we'll continue on as we move forward.
Yes, Jean.
Can you help me out? Will you define for me what supportive housing is and maybe give me an example of that? I'm sorry, I'm new to this, so.
Yeah, well, and I'll say no because but only because it's fairly vague in the in WIDA's application documentation. It's not very well defined. That's why, so like in this example, this was for tax credits. Their example was the target population for senior citizens as well as veterans or other individuals. And what it means is have those units set aside for supportive housing for that population is that similar to the veterans set aside, we would need to have an MOU or an agreement with some kind of a service organization that serves the target population. In this case, it makes complete sense to work with Cornerstone, the community center, which is literally across the street, and some of the case managers or a JFF, Joining Forces for Families, is over there as well. And they're literally across the street, and our residents at 509, many of them already interact with those. I have reached out to Natalie to see if, who's the director there, to see if they'd be open to some kind of formal relationship there, and they would.
When I ran housing programs in Vermont and then in Fond du Lac and Oshkosh, we ran supportive housing programs. And it usually meant that the apartments had to accommodate wheelchairs and other forms of disabilities, that there had to be someone that they could call should they need to, or some sort of an alert system. And at that time anyway, it meant that we had to have in place a plan to deal with those residents in emergency situations. Now, those programs weren't funded by WIDA, that was Ford Foundation and national dollars, but it was not easy. So you had to really look at that carefully.
Yep, and I will say there's a spectrum of supportive
Right.
services. So they can be, depending on the population that whatever organization is managing the property wants to serve, it just can vary, right? So I think in this case, we would likely tailor it more in the similar vein to what this example is. Obviously, we're already looking at the veterans, but similar to what we've been doing, elderly and disabled, those types of things. Unless, I guess I'll put that out to you all, unless there is another segment of another population that you feel that would be beneficial to look at. Another example is Community Action Coalition. Sometimes they locate a branch, I'm going to say, or an office within a building that has supportive services, depending again on the population that's being served, and they'll provide services at that building. So there's a number of different ways to go about it. It really just depends on who we want to serve. And my initial inclination was we probably want to continue serving the population that we are already serving, and that there's already existing relationships there. So that seems the easiest. It doesn't mean that that's the one that we should do, but that was the one that popped into my mind first.
And I was attached to a community action program in Fond du Lac, and Winnebago County. So that would be a consistent model, although and I have to go back and look at their, service book they gave us, their annual report kind of thing.
Mhm.
Dane County Community Action Program has, or Madison, I think it's Dane County, changed the services they're providing quite dramatically.
Mhm.
And I don't know what they are now. So,
So is there any opposition to going the route of supportive housing set asides, A, and B, if not, is there anything else that you'd like me to look at within that category? Other than what we've kind of talked about?
I just have a quick question. So it's not that we have to provide the services, they just need to be in need of them for housing, right?
Correct, yes. So we don't have to provide them ourselves. That's where we would have an agreement with a service organization that does
That
provide them.
does, okay.
Mhm.
And I think Jane gave some examples, but so like someone who, I'm just trying to put a word to more so kind of what she was asking, like, are we, like if someone's on a long-term care voucher, like, is that something that would be encompassing of?
It certainly could be. I'm not extremely familiar with that, but it certainly could be.
Well, yeah, or just so that they have programs
Sure.
really that they're already connected with, right?
Yeah,
That,
and that's where,
cover the housing need?
mhm.
Okay,
That's where to me it made sense to partner with the senior center on
Mhm.
that, or
Yep.
excuse me, Cornerstone on that,
management.
because it is, yep, it is, yep, and it's nearby. But as another example, in some of these instances, there can be a budgetary impact to the management company or the owner of the building. If, say, the Cornerstone wasn't nearby, but was maybe 6, 7 miles away, we may, as part of the agreement, to have this set aside and with that service organization, be responsible for bearing the cost of busing folks back and forth or things like that. So that's just an example of how it could potentially have a budgetary impact.
or how you design the apartment. It could
Yes,
be
or how
that
you design.
have to have a bathroom sink a wheelchair will fit under, or,
Mhm.
ability to cook in the kitchen or something that's a little different if they're
Mm-hmm.
wheelchair bound or disabled in some way.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
It's not all that difficult once you really look at it. It just requires a little extra planning.
From a scoring perspective, those were really the big ticket items that I wanted to run by you all, just to make sure we felt comfortable with that. It sounds like we might, which if that's the case, it'd be great to submit an application.
Okay, do you need a motion on that?
That would be wonderful.
All right. So we're looking for a motion to authorize the executive director to submit an application to the WIDA Development Authority through its competitive tax credit program.
Moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
That was Alicia. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further comment or question? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
okay,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 7.6, discussion and possible action, authorizing the executive director to execute any necessary documents to make any necessary deposits to effectuate a certificate of deposit at Lake Ridge Bank in the amount of $500,000. Wow, where is Lake Ridge Bank?
Not in DeForest yet. At our last couple of meetings, we discussed potential options for funding allocations with the additional funds from the sale of 509 and some of the funds that we've accrued in managing that property to up until August. Lake Ridge they partnered with us on an application to the Chicago Federal Home Loan Bank's Affordable Housing Program. If we are successful in that, they will continue to be a partner in this development, the one that we've been talking about, Hart Crossing. They did propose, they sent me some rates to look at, a special offer on a CD of 3.1%, excuse me, 3.13% for over a 13-month term. I'd be remiss, and Carol would smack me if I didn't say that we couldn't find better options out there. And there are better options out there. This was kind of right in the middle ground from some of the things that I was looking at. So this is partly, just to be frank, partly a relationship thing with an organization that took a chance on us to hopefully bring $2 million into a housing project that we're going to be doing. And then also, obviously, a good opportunity for us to lock in a favorable rate with some of the funds from the sale of the property. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Well, currently, our best rate is where we are right now in our savings accounts at DMB. Obviously, that's not locked in, but that's at 4.2,
Yeah.
4.2%.
We just completed a transfer of some funds over to a CD that we got 4.2. I mean, that's changing every day. I can't say if I asked again tomorrow, it'd be the same thing, but it'd probably be better than 3.13.
And the relationship issue also, DMB hasn't partnered on most things, right?
That is true. Obviously, we want to be, I think we have a fiduciary responsibility also to manage these funds well. And I don't think that if we did receive an award from AHP, which is the Affordable Housing Program, and we didn't do the CD, that Lake Ridge would say, well, now we're not partnering with you moving forward on that. It truly is a relationship thing, and then you know, a halfway decent rate. I think when we looked at it, the amount over that 13-year term compared to, you know, put you on the spot with a mathematical calculator in your head. It was, yeah, 13-month CD. Between that and I will say that the rate that we're getting in our savings account could fluctuate. It's not locked in. So I want to say it's probably foregoing maybe 12,000-ish, something like that. I don't know, Kara. Okay. Whoever's got a mortgage or a CD calculator, Alicia's working on it. Which is what? 5,000?
Where is Lake Ridge?
The closest Lake Ridge bank, I believe, is in Wanakee.
Yeah, on Main Street.
Yep. Certainly, I wouldn't be, I would be remiss to say I haven't been trying to, in these discussions, see if they wouldn't mind opening a branch into Forest. So that's still an ongoing conversation as well.
We have commercial space going to be available.
We certainly do.
Yeah. The ladies are conferring over there. I'm giving them a minute.
Carol's quick calculation was 1% APY difference would be $5,000. That's kind of what you're getting. Yeah, Nishant, you should have this.
Yeah.
Like that.
I was thinking $5,000 to $7,000.
Sure. So,
We have much better math people than me, so I just stay out of it.
so it's essentially foregoing $5,000 to $7,000, assuming that our current rate stays constant throughout that 13-month period.
Good.
So,
All right. Is there any more questions or concerns about that?
I'll also mention that we are still looking, and maybe the best option is to hold the rest of the funds in our current savings, even though it's not locked in, but we are still determining what the best option is for the 1.1 million that we have remaining outside of this.
And just to back up to the last meeting, this wasn't the, you were talking about one entity that was going to buy out our tax credits. Is this, so this is basically this?
No, this is not that entity.
Okay,
You're right.
okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Nope, this one would be, so the tax credit institution was Old National Bank. And this is Lake Ridge. Old National would purchase has submitted the LOI to purchase the tax credits, which would be roughly 9 to 10 million. Lake Ridge would be in it, assuming we get an affordable housing program award for roughly 2 million.
Okay.
Again, I don't think they would back out of that commitment if we did get an award.
As long as Carol's comfortable, I'm okay. All right.
Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable.
Carol's comfortable.
Other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to give our executive director permission to make the deposit and transfer in Lake Ridge Bank.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a quiet second. Okay, any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, we made a decision.
Thank you.
That's real hard because rates just move all the time, so. All right, 7.7, an update on the Yahara River Crossing development.
Yes, so we kind of touched on some of this in the talks about, oh, no, I guess we didn't touch on any of this before. So since the last time we met, we did have a hazardous materials assessment that was performed on the liquor store, the car wash, and the residential properties. Jay, you want to talk about how that process went?
Yeah, so we had a guy come out, I forgot the name of the,
True North Consultant.
and he was very thorough with his destruction of things in the units, trying to look for any types of, mostly asbestos, but any hazardous materials. So he's there for a few hours, documented all types of stuff. And there's a lot of paint cans, flammable materials, stuff like that, that need to be disposed of properly. They did also find asbestos. And because of that, a guy from the DNR came out today, actually, and we walked around with him. He did a secondary inspection of all the buildings, going through and doing his own analysis on what he thought may or may not hold asbestos. And I think he only found the one thing in a furnace cover that he thought would need to be mitigated. But it was known, obviously, that there's a lot of materials that we're gonna need significant costs to dispose of. And
Now, this building was the old car wash?
All of the buildings.
All of the buildings, okay.
all of the buildings were inspected, yes. The asbestos, and we were not really clear on that today with the DNR guy, we believe it was held to the liquor store. But that's something that he was gonna work through with Robinson Brothers. And they had the report, the test report that came back from True North. So they were gonna work through that and get back to us.
Yeah, that's a great summary. I think there's probably nothing really too concerning out there. It's all stuff that anytime you go into an older building, you're gonna find some of this. I mean, even to the point that under a sink, there was like a specific kind of drain cover that had asbestos in it. So those types of things are in houses and structures. We just don't really necessarily have awareness of it. And so Robinson Brothers is the demo contractor that won the bid, and they'll be doing the remediation as well. So the schedule for that I have here, not in the memo. So they put out a DNR notice of intent, which is why the DNR was there today. They're hoping to pull permits between November 3rd through the 14th. The abatement itself, which is the proper disposal of all the hazardous materials on site, would be the week of the 20th through the 29th. So by the end of the month of November. Utility disconnects are kind of an ongoing thing throughout the month and into December. And then the actual demo, when we'll see those structures come down, will be throughout the month of December. So that's kind of the general timing on how we can expect to see that corner change a little bit visually.
That'll be amazing, frankly, when all of that is gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that'll be a big change. And that will give us an opportunity if we want to do some construction fencing and potentially have some signage out there to let folks in the community know what's coming, which will be exciting. I did mention that we put an application in to WEDC for a site assessment grant, which helps with remediation and demolition. In the time since we met last, I did get confirmation that that successfully passed underwriting. Doesn't mean we've got an award yet, but it's definitely is a positive sign, and I would say it's probably likely that we will get an award, which will help defray cost of demo too. The utility pole on the north side of the site, which is part of the American Transmission Company line, I did get a quote back from them. They confirmed that I don't know if you recall, we were doing the 2-pole situation. They confirmed that that design would work structurally. I passed along the geotech report and everything looks good. It's not going to be cheap, but it certainly is cheaper than some of the other options. It's still about $85,000 to have that whole thing completed. Schedule wise, they did propose a schedule that would see that getting all the work completed by September of next year, which is great because, well, pros and cons to it. That's right when we'd be about the time when we'd be starting our official construction outside of this demo work, which means that we're gonna have to figure out how to navigate site work around these poles. But talking with our construction manager, they think it's doable. And then we don't have to deal with waiting for delays or anything with the pole for that, which we were concerned about initially. If you look on GIS, which I think somebody pulled up here, thank you. The 3 parcels have now been officially combined into one, which for
Oh, good.
the planning geeks in the room, like myself, is a fun thing. Other people may be like, well, so what? But this is now our entire property, no longer 3 parcels, and it is all one clean parcel. Brandy, Brandy does it. Brandy, can you explain the CSM process?
CSM certified survey map. So basically there were 3 separate parcels. The certified survey map goes through approval process to combine all the parcels into one piece. So then we can actually develop, because you cannot build a building over a property line. So I'm kind of picky about that.
Yeah.
The last thing on this note, I think I preempted this by saying it, but we did officially receive a letter of intent from Old National for coming into the project for the tax credits, which is great. And I was anticipating like a little 1-pager, but it was a very detailed letter of intent. So I think that's a really good sign. Hopefully we can follow through on that and win a competitive award. The last thing, which is not in the memo, but I do want to bring it up, is so if you recall for the competitive cycle last year, we had to submit to be an approved management agent for tax credit buildings. And we were last year. We are not this year, and that is completely on me. I missed the deadline to submit it by 4 days, and there was no leniency on that. So that is kind of a big blow, to be honest. Our intention is still to manage the facility ourselves, but now we'll have to partner with another management company to come in on the application. And then 2 years after the placed in service date, which is the date of occupancy, certificate of occupancy, is the point at which we can change and continue to manage in-house. It doesn't mean that we won't continue to manage the day-to-day operations in-house. We will still do that. We just have a partner in that management who essentially will take on more of a compliance role and potentially an administrative role. I've been told that we probably would have been required to do that by our investor, in this case, potentially Old National anyway, because we don't have extensive experience managing tax credit projects and going through compliance. So it may have been something that we would have had to do anyway, but because I missed that deadline, we're forced to do it now. So I've had a number of different conversations. The most promising, which I'm waiting on a response from, is, excuse me, with Wisconsin Property Management Company. They have extensive experience with tax credit projects, and sent them all of our information, and I'm hoping to hear back from them soon.
What will that cost us?
That's what I'm hoping to hear back from. So I'm sure it will not be free. But I don't know what that exactly is going to look like. I've had a couple other conversations with other management companies, mostly on the nonprofit side of things, or where I have existing relationships, and it just wasn't something they were interested in. I've reached out to another CDA of another community who is an approved management agent for 2026 to see if they would be interested in helping us out with that. So if it comes down to, you know, a substantial cost differential, then that will play into that too.
Okay.
So still kind of fleshing that out, but just wanted to make
Alicia,
y'all aware.
questions? You're thinking.
Yeah, I guess it just, I mean, I could look it up too, but I was just curious, what is that approved management designation allow us to do? Take out, like, manage the application process and, or,
No, it's not necessarily managing the, I think I turned the heat up too much. It's hot.
No, it's not.
So the
it's
approved,
nice and comfortable. I feel great, actually. too.
Yeah.
I'm a run colder too.
there you go. Managing tax credit developments is not really, like there's a lot more involved than just managing a facility. There's a lot of compliance pieces to it. If we don't, if the management company falls out of compliance, that would have a ramification to the investor in which the federal government would reclaim some of their tax benefits. So there are high stakes to it. And WIDA wants to make sure that any agent, management company who is going to be managing a tax credit building understands what those are and has a degree of training or, you know, understanding of experience in how to do that. And so that's why they require an approved management company to be in on the application and then managing the facility as well. And so we were approved in 2025. I was certified and took the training courses to do that. My training and certification is good for 3 years. So part of me was like, well, we're still technically capable, but it just, I just missed the boat, to be honest.
Thank you. And like I said, it was just more informational. I'll look into more about
Mhm.
that process. Appreciate it.
Okay, Jean.
This is not meant to make you feel bad or anything. Was there an appeal process?
Me sending an email, but they pretty much flat out said they wouldn't consider it.
I just don't know
So.
if there was any kind of formal appeal process.
No, they don't really spell out any processes. They love to have their own discretion. Another management company that I did reach out to, they actually had a similar situation where they also missed the deadline and they tried to appeal to WIDA to say, hey, could I slide through? And I said, well, if you're gonna slide through, if they tell you yes, you better let me know, because but they did not either. So.
Well.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this could have advantages if we work it correctly and they agree to work with us, as long as the money still comes to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would be, I'm sure they would request a fee to assist in it. And depending on what that fee is, you know, we'll consider it.
Good.
That's all I had for updates.
All right, and you don't need any
No
approvals.
action.
Okay, so we will go on to reports and item 8. And housing division.
Got Jefferson Square financials up. I don't know if Jay, did you get anything from? Okay. Harold, do you want?
So I will point out one of the things I noticed with their September report. Now, they have a new CFO over there at Attic Angel. So there may be some things happening over there, some changes, I don't know. But if you look at their September report, their capital column is all zeros, which is not how it should look. So there's something going on with the report, but I can confirm for you that the combined totals, both the September combined and the year-to-date combined totals are accurate. So the bottom line of $134,000 in profit so far for the year is correct. But don't be concerned with the fact that those capital columns are all zeros. So I pointed it out to her. I'll get you an updated, corrected version once she sends it to me. But the combined totals are giving you accurate information. However, we did notice also that they have their monthly management fee, which year to date is $20,417, but there's no September charge in there. And when I looked back, I realized they didn't charge it for August either. So I've pointed that out to her as well. Somewhere along the way, they got to July and then stopped charging us our management fee. So you may see a larger number in October because they're going to have to catch up, but we'll make sure they get on track before year end. So there's some, things happening, I think, over there just to get everything straightened out with the new accountant coming in the door. I don't know.
Overall, the bottom line is good.
Yes, it is.
Questions
think-
on that report, on that? All right. Well, with that, we'll go on to Yahara River.
Split up here. The only thing that I had to note here, and Jay certainly chime in with anything of note, is just we haven't made the changes. You'll see that the repair and replacement reserve is 33, so the thousand. So this statement is from September. We kind of discussed revising that operating reserve to 25,000. So you'll see those reflected on future statements, but it hasn't been, obviously wasn't done in September. Outside of that, things are tracking pretty good. Do you have anything to add from a logistics standpoint or? Okay. Jay's got it down to a science now, basically.
Okay, any questions on this report? Okay, payment in lieu. You were going too
Sorry.
quick for this old woman.
Yep. And it's small.
It's bigger on the screen on our.
Oh, it is. Gotcha.
So thank you. All right, if there's no questions, then we'll go on to redevelopment division.
The only thing that I'll point out here of note is that we did make our first disbursement from the small business grant program.
Okay.
So obviously we made all those grant awards, but our first project had been completed and requested funding, and that was Beans and Cream. They completed theirs and we did make a payment there. We've had 2 other requests, possibly 3, so those will start showing up on financial statements as well.
Um, 8.3 prudential investment statement.
Yeah, these have continued to track pretty well. So I think we're doing pretty well with the managed account. Hopefully that continues.
Nice. Well, Doug, real money.
It's looking good.
Doug was the treasurer of the Forest Housing Authority when I was there also, and it was a very different job we had. All right, with that, I guess our next issue or item is December 11th is the next meeting date. Getting on to the holidays. I am hopeful that we'll be able to make that meeting and then have off for the rest of the year.
On the meeting note, how do you all feel about the first meeting in January? I don't know if anybody has anything scheduled or if there's any conflicts.
I'll tell you, I'm supposed to, unless I can get it moved up, have my surgery on the 22nd of January.
Okay.
And so that week is gone, and because I'll still have a lot of junk in my system from being under.
That could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun. It could be fun. The pain medication's enough right now.
I'm not sure if we have them out into 2026. Yeah. So typically we have these scheduled for the second Thursday of every month. So that in January, that would be the 8th
Which is also DRT.
is also the
Okay.
RT. Yeah. So, okay, if there's no objections, we'll just keep the ball rolling.
Good. All right. Well, with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn and thank you all for sharing this cool evening with us.
So moved.
Toasty. Roasty toasty.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
I did it first, but that's okay.
oh, I didn't hear you. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:06 PM.